Hi people, it is February and we are back and better. I have the hiccups. We are back and better than ever. You know, a few weeks ago, the Oscar nominations came out. The Oscars is set to happen at on March 10th. So we still have about a month, but the nominations really set people into an uproar. And for the most part, it was, you know, normal award shenanigans, you know. A lot of movies that you probably thought were boring or never have seen before, but yet are on the best picture list. You know, just normal award stuff. I'm honestly at this point like so done with awards. Like honestly, I didn't watch the Grammys, which were last night. Not gonna watch the Oscars for sure. Like I'm so done. Okay. I'm so done. But I feel like I always make a video like every year of this stuff happening. Okay, last time I was talking about Beyonce. This time we're talking about Barbie, which, like I said, set feminists into an uproar. But why did it? Before I tell you why, subscribe. I have Instagram, TikTok. I have a Twitter. I kind of want to post on it more, but I don't at the moment. It's linked in the description though. Patreon, where you can see the outline for this video if you are curious how I make my videos. You only need to pay $5 for that. Or if you just want to support, do $1. You could do that. There's higher tiers. Lots of variation, girl. Lots of things to choose from. Okay, so check that out if you're interested. Why did liberals, feminists, why are they so mad over the Barbies getting quote-unquote snubbed? There was outrage over the fact that Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig were not nominated. I put that in quotation marks, not nominated. That's very important because we'll get to it in a minute. But yet, of course, there are other women that were nominated, one of which was actually in the freaking movie. America Ferrera had a very famous like monologue towards the end of the movie. She was nominated for, I believe, like supporting actress. Also, Lily Gladstone was nominated for Killers of the Flower Moon. Then Daniel Brooks for Color Purple. So obviously they're a woman nominated, and these people are asking for Margot Robbie to be nominated over other women. Like the issue is the Oscars doesn't care about women or whatever, but yet they're asking her to be in a category with other women. It's a bit weird. Okay, it's a bit weird off the bat. Like why? It doesn't quite make sense. They're like, Barbie had like a really huge impact on me personally as a feminist. It was such a good representation of feminism, of women in their place, or I don't know, I guess it touched people in a way. I cried when I watched the movie. I thought it was good, but as the weeks went by, I also was gonna make a video on it and its portrayal of feminism, but it was during the SAG-AFTRA strikes or the WGA strikes, and so I ended up not doing it. And I'm really glad I didn't, because as the weeks went by, I was like, it was okay. You know, the all of it kind of wore off for me, and I was like, it was okay. You know, did Billie Eilish's song make me cry? Yes, girl, but it wasn't worth to be this upset. You know, it really wasn't worth it. When I think Oscars, I don't think Barbie. I think Barbie is fun. It's silly. It has like its cute little moments with the Ken, you know, the little dance sequences and all that. It was really well made. But when I think Oscars, it doesn't quite, to me, make sense. But it still got Best Picture. So why are people mad? I don't know. And like I said, they're mad over Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig not getting nominated, but Greta Gerwig was nominated for Best Writing, and Margot Robbie is nominated for Best Picture along with everyone else. So why is this happening, right? So we had liberals, like I said, go crazy on the timeline, real mad. One of them being Hillary Clinton, who says, Greta and Margot, while I can sting to win the box office but not take home the gold, your millions of fans love you. You're both so much more than enough. It's just so cringe. It's just so cringe. There was other people that were mad as well. People making memes as well, you know, over like why they're also like, why are you this mad over Barbie not getting whatever it is you want that movie to get? There's also this like TikTok. I don't really think it was posted by Outkick, but I don't think that they originally made the video. But basically this woman like goes up to these white ladies or white people in general. She also talks to white men and basically like kind of corrects them. She kind of says what I just said, that like America Ferrera was nominated. This man's like, it's a man's world still, and it's like you're asking for Margot Robbie to be nominated over other women. It's just weird. It's a weird grievance to have. I think at this point it has kind of blown over, but it was weird whenever it first happened. And you have even Margot Robbie chiming in eventually and saying, there's no way to feel sad when you know you're this blessed. So I think that was probably what quieted the storm, and people were like, okay, well, if she's not mad, then why am I? But Barbie was a movie that also made 1.4 billion last year whenever the movie released, as well as it being backed by several corporations. They had an entire Airbnb, which I believe you can still go to, which I'm sure also made them a lot of money. And ultimately, its job was to sell product. It was an ad. Okay? It was an ad by Mattel, a very well-made, really nice ad that I cried at the end of. Ultimately, it was just an ad, which is, once again, why seeing it nominated for Best Picture is weird. It's just not that serious. Like, it did its goal. It did exactly what it needed to do. Okay, I remember when I went to see the movie afterwards, there was like a little black girl, and her mom was like, you want a Barbie? She was like, yeah. So it did its job. That's exactly what it was intended to do, was to leave, for people to leave that movie, especially if they have kids, if the kids went to see the movie, to leave the movie and be like, oh, I'm gonna go purchase a Barbie, which I'm sure it accomplished. So it did exactly what it needed to do. I'm sure the average consumer does not see that as the case, but that was its purpose. And if this were truly about feminism and uplifting all women, then these grievances wouldn't have existed in the first place. But white feminists only care about that slot being taken up by a white woman. It's not that they were mad that necessarily Margot Robbie wasn't nominated. They're mad that her slot, quote unquote, was taken up by honestly mostly women of color. You have the first Native American woman to be nominated for, I believe it was Best Actress. You have America Ferrera, like I said, being nominated. But you also have Danielle Brooks, a black woman, being nominated. But it's not a white woman, you see. And that's really the only conclusion you can come to. Because like I said, it's the weirdest grievance to be mad that Margot Robbie's slot was taken up by other women. You know, if this was truly about feminism and you being mad that the Oscars or whatever doesn't celebrate women, then it's not adding up, okay? Ever since I've been on Twitter with the abortion, Roe v. Wade coming down, and now this, there's this talk about white feminism. What is white feminism? It is a brand of feminism that prioritizes achieving equality for white women, insisting that their equality will open the door for all other women. It focuses exclusively on issues that pertain to white women. And from a quote from, I believe, a writer on this issue from an article from Mashable, it's an exclusionary feminism that does not consider the intersectionality of women, ignoring how misogyny intertwines with racism, Islamophobia, and ableism. For example, it assumes that white women experience misogyny in the same way all women experience misogyny, and that is simply not the case. And this homogenization of feminism in itself is an act of white supremacy, saying that your grievances are too niche, they don't cover a broad enough range, they don't represent the majority of women or whatever it may be, so they don't matter. Your grievances, just by this act of excluding women, not even just with Barbie, but like I said, with the abortion rights issue, but not caring about other issues that pertain to maybe Black women or other women of color, trans women also, you know, there's like these different brands even within liberal feminism or white feminism, like the serfs or the TERFs, you know, that exclude these sections of women that don't fit the ideal brand of feminism. It can also be tied to like girl boss feminism, which is like a really funny term, but it was in a lot of the articles I read, or like this more representation or capitalist focused equality. We just looked at Hillary Clinton, you know, like people being so happy for her to possibly be nominated as to win the presidency or to be in any place of political power, but she is like a terrible, as most politicians. Okay, she, you know, I seen those memes on like Twitter of like, this Barbie did a war crime, you know, like she's not, we should be striving for higher standards. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Or having more female CEOs. You know, like these are things that aren't gonna do anything for anybody, but it's like this grind set. It's honestly like it kind of reminds me of like UA podcast and like Red Pill, and like you gotta get your grind on. Okay, that's the real feminism, is doing capitalism. So, and this liberal feminism and white feminism, to me, honestly, I think has been at the forefront of the feminist movement for as long as it's existed. You know, we go all the way back to the formations of the feminist movement back in the late 1800s, and we can see this dilemma starting between white women and women of color, especially at a pivotal time where Black women were literally fighting for their freedom, right? But yet a lot of the major leaders of the movement did not like recognize that as like something that the movement should care about, which doesn't make any sense, because if your goal is for the equality of not even just all women but all genders, then like why don't you care about Black women? Why don't you care about these other people that are also being subjugated a lot of the times by the basis of not only their race but their gender, being sexually assaulted? Why don't you care about them? So at the 1866 National Women's Convention, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, a Black woman, challenged white feminists' failure to recognize this racial oppression. And like I said, I feel like white feminism, liberal feminism, is still the face of the movement, and I think that's an issue. I suppose it's natural because the majority of women are, well, at least in America, are white, so I guess it makes sense. But if, like I said, your goal is for the equality of all genders, all people under this society have equal opportunity, to have, you know, if we go back to Barbie, to have that world that Barbie portrays at the end, kind of a spoiler alert, but to have that world at the end where both the Kens and the Barbies, men and women alike, have equal positions of power within society, if that is your goal, then why are you only trying to get it for white women? It's a little bit goes against the movement, doesn't it? There's also, lastly, this obsession with like representation that is interesting more so than anything else. I think representation personally is fine. I think it's nice to see people, especially as a Black girl, like seeing people that look like you in movies is great. To see your stories be represented, to have the ability to showcase those stories is great. You know, like imagine a time, there was a point in time where a lot of the movies and TV shows didn't have Black faces, didn't have queer faces, didn't have, you know, all these people that are now represented. So it's great to see people like you. It makes you feel normal, you know, especially when you live in a society that like says that you aren't normal or that you should change the way that you are, whatever it may be. It's nice to see that like, no, actual people are like this. And of course, movies and TV shows are not real life. But whenever you're representing like real stories, whether it be in like a sitcom, in a, I don't know, in a movie that's kind of more like slice of life, of course it feels more organic anyways to even create a story that has multiple faces. But you don't want to obsess over representation to your detriment. I feel like it kind of reminds me of like Black Panther when that first came out, and Black people were like so excited to see this movie. It's more sad than anything, right? Like looking back at that moment, you have like Black people coming on the theater and they're like so happy that they just watched this story. It's a great story about a country, an African country that hasn't been colonized, hasn't been ripped to shreds by the CIA or some foreign, you know, government that is mineral rich, is thriving. It's great to see, but that is very much not real life. Like if we talk about TV shows and movies not being real life, Black Panther is, oh my god, not real life at all. At the end of the day, you go home after you watch the Black Panther movie and you're like, you know, it sets in that you will never live in that world, okay? You will never live in that world where Black people aren't being exploited, and where a lot of African countries aren't being exploited. The reality is that Wakanda never happened, right? You know, and it's still to this day with the Congo, the Democratic Congo, which I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, but still to this day, the Congo is being re-exploited again. They literally went through slavery not that long ago in the 60s. And now they're being exploited again for their minerals. So like, we don't live in that world. And so you can't get so obsessed with representation with Barbie, with Black Panther, with any movie that it may be, that you forget the message that is trying to convey that these things don't exist. You get so, I feel like with Barbie especially, people get so like, they get so territorial over this movie and what it means to them because they don't have that they don't focus on what the movie's trying to say, which is that you should continue the movement. You know what I mean? Like you get so caught up, it almost like works against the message in some weird way, where you get so caught up in this thing that doesn't exist and that gave you this fleeting hope and happiness that you kind of get so like tunnel visioned or like blindsided by the message. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I think it I think it makes sense. It's kind of like this weird late stage capitalism where a corporation's very well made ad to sell a product manipulates our feelings of inequalities to sell more product. Like that's a bit of a yikes, honestly. Like when you think about it, that's like I said, I feel like it ultimately, like sometimes these movies kind of work against the message that they quote unquote want to portray, because ultimately Mattel does not give a frick about feminism. Okay, let's be honest. Their goal is to sell more product, and all they did was utilize your obsession with this thing that you are deprived of to sell you more product, to blindside you, to divert your attention from the very thing that the movie was about. It's kind of messed up. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the Barbie uproar. Like I said, for the most part, it's kind of over. I want to give a shout out to my Patreon members. I really appreciate you. You guys have been supporting me for months, girl. I appreciate it, okay? And I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.